Hi, gorgeous. This is episode number 61 with the Master Intuitive, Katy Bray.
Hi, this is Katy Bray. You're listening to Heart Cells Podcast with Christine Schlonski. Enjoy.
I'm so thrilled to have Katy Bray back with us today. And we learned so much about going from having like a trauma to becoming the leader with the lights on. And today we are going to dive into the sales part a little bit more. And before we do that, make sure you check out the Sales Mentality Makeover Masterclass. This is my free online event coming up in May, where amazing, heart-centered, driven entrepreneurs who have achieved massive amounts of success are sharing their secrets with you. So you can put it into practice, and once you did that, really change your business and your life. Hop on over to christineschlonski.com, find the Sales Mentality Makeover Masterclass 3 in the menu, and just register. It's a free online event, and we will have a lot of fun together. Plus, you will get really, really amazing value to up-level your business. So I'm really looking forward today to continue the conversation with Katy Bray. So here is her bio in a nutshell. Katy is a professional, clairvoyant, and gifted empath whose direct and loving approach has been game-changing for those seeking to achieve the next level of success with greater confidence and authenticity. As a psychic, she is exceptionally well-versed in transformative techniques for accessing information and fast-forwarding growth, and has created her own style that is uniquely adept at helping individuals gain access to what slows their manifestation process down and to bring them fully in their power. In fact, her clients even say that working with Katy is the single most powerful partnership they've ever experienced. Katy is a lifelong clairvoyant who went to become a Vedic Master, a Herbalist, a Practitioner of Tantra, and is a non-denominational ordained minister. Her body of work is based in multidimensional living. She has worked with over 12,000 individuals and has led more than 100 group teachings. Her patterns of our humanity and how to get unhooked from the things that get us stuck is what she's really great at. So please welcome back with me on the show, Katy Bray. Well, I'm so excited to have you back on Heart Cells Podcast. Welcome, Katy.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be back.
Yeah, I loved our last conversation and all your great advice of how to change your emotional world when you really feel like, there isn't enough, where to start. So I would be really interested in knowing, do you remember the very first thing you ever sold in your life?
Oh, that's a really great question. I think the first thing I sold in my life, I want to say I was younger, but I don't think that's true. I think I'm actually thinking of my daughter who intuitively knew how to upsell at her lemonade stand when she was like 4.
Wow.
She's like, let's add some raspberry to it and we can charge an extra $1. I was like, oh my gosh, that was not me.
Well, that's very entrepreneurial.
Isn't it? Well, and at that point I was already an entrepreneur. So I thought, okay, well, at least she's picking up on some things. But at 4, I was just dumbfounded. I was excited, but dumbfounded. For myself, I was in the beauty industry. That's actually where I started. And my favorite thing to do was makeup. I was a makeup artist. I did skincare, but I just loved having women sit in my chair and having them see how beautiful they were. They could see themselves how I saw them. And that really excited me. And so I had very high sales in makeup. And what was funny about it was I didn't feel like I was selling. I was so, I never felt like, oh, but they need to have that mascara or they need to have this or that. It was, let me show you how beautiful I see you. And I'm going to bring all of that out in such a way. And I knew that they would just take what they wanted and leave the rest. And usually they would buy everything that I put on them, which was never my focus. It was never my focus. It was a sort of a byproduct of the work that I was doing. So what's interesting is, and I'm sure we'll get to this, when I actually started doing more of my own like business, and I was confronted with sales, it was amazing how different I felt about it versus when I was showing people through just makeup and them buying something. I mean, we don't really need makeup. I mean, we love makeup, but this is not a car to get around town so you can get to work. This is
we
how
would
important is
survive
this lipstick?
without.
Exactly. So, but for sales, that's the first time I really started selling was makeup.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting because for so many people who do not start out as an entrepreneur, they usually have a job where they have conversations and where then another person buys from the company. Mm-hmm. So if you're not starting in sale, you still have something. Maybe you're doing a presentation, or yes, you're doing some kind of service, yes, and that draws people in because when you're really excited, like I could hear it in your voice, like mm-hmm, you're still so excited about makeup and about getting the beauty out in these women that you saw. And yes, I think it's so perfect with what you do as well, because now you're getting the beauty out in a human mm-hmm, being, just, yes, in another way, but mm-hmm, you're still doing the same thing. You're showing yes, them a transformation.
Exactly.
So when you started on your own entrepreneurial journey, do you remember that feeling when you thought about making a sale, or when you thought about how to maybe package your services or offer your services? What was it and how is it now?
At the time, I was tuned in. So I'll tell you just a tiny bit about the work that I do. I kind of wear two hats. They're essentially the same hat. It just goes into two different arenas. My husband and I have a company together called Lead with the Lights On. So we, if anyone here is familiar with Ayurveda, a lot of people know Deepak Chopra. He brought Ayurveda a little bit more mainstream. But we actually take Ayurveda and the Vedic philosophies into small businesses and do leadership, consciousness-based leadership and team development. So we do that together. And then as myself, I work with individuals, oftentimes women, oftentimes pioneering women who are healers or leads of their community, or they're sort of at the top of the class. They've done a lot of work on themselves and they want to keep going. That's typically the type of person I do a lot of individual work with. So I started out working individually with women, and my background is Ayurveda, but like I said in the first episode, I'm clairvoyant, empathic. So I do have very practical, very feet on the ground tools that I help people get very in sync with their mind, body, and spirit, and work through very deep stuff, very hard stuff. But I also have the capacity to see energy and feel energy. So I do a lot of energy work as well. So there's a lot that is involved. And so when I was going to my first networking meetings, I remember someone coming up to me, and I think for a little while, I was telling people who I was, all with the feeling of resistance and the fear of God that they were actually going to come up to me and ask for my support, because I was so scared at first, like, oh my gosh, can I really provide this? Can I really do this? Can I, can I really do what I say I think I can do? Not like I hadn't been doing it. It was just now we're talking about a money exchange. And so it felt like we upped the ante, right? This isn't friends. This isn't someone who just called for support. There's a real deal exchange here. And so I was really nervous. I was really scared. And then I remember feeling very guilty because I felt like I was taking money for something that me as this, big hearted person should just be willing to do for people.
Mm.
And that was a really hard one for me to work through because at a certain point intellectually, I knew that was not the case. You have a house, you have a child, you have responsibilities. This is not a hobby. I had spent many, many dollars on my education. I had years of experience, of my own experience. There were so many reasons why I knew that wasn't true. But as we were talking about really feeling into our bodies and knowing our bodies, and in the last episode, there was a disconnect from what my mind was telling me versus how I was actually experiencing this whole idea of selling myself or selling my services. I felt guilt.
Yeah. Yeah. And many people do that. And I think you just mentioned one thing I want to go into real quick because people can get a really good idea. You said you spend lots and lots of dollars on your own education.
Yes.
And often we forget about this very, very important part that we have invested into ourselves. Mm-hmm. We have taken courses, we have had mentors, we hopefully still have mentors and coaches.
Right, exactly.
So we keep growing and evolving, and whatever we keep investing into ourselves, we bring to the table.
Yes.
So if somebody's listening right now and they're thinking, well, I do feel a bit guilty. I feel like, well, can I even deliver? Like, should I be asking that kind of money? My answer is yes.
Yes.
Really go into, maybe sit down and journal. What kind of money have you spent on yourself? Mm-hmm. How spend is not the right word, invest, because it's still there. You hopefully grew and it evolved, and bring that to the table. So what is it? Because that will help you to make that shift. So how did you deal with the guilt part? How did you get yourself out of this?
It took me some time. It honestly did. And part of it was at first, like I know that when I'm in session, my heart is very pure and honest. And I'm very present and really showing up for people and with people, that I'm not just trying to get money. This isn't like it was one of those, if I won the lottery today, I would still be doing this work.
Yeah.
And I knew that. And it just happened to be that there had to be a money exchange. And honestly, I would just look at my daughter and go, she deserves a really good life. And that was what got me through for quite a while. It took a lot of time of just consistently, showing up and letting myself be in that space. And I feel like that started to just naturally shift things for me. And then something that I actually do with clients that I would love to share briefly, because I think that it's hugely important, and it kind of feeds off of what you were just saying about writing down what you've invested in yourself. I like to do a lot of my work is based in, I call it multidimensional living. And so I put together this multidimensional soul map. And in that, I write down, yes, what have I invested myself, or what have I invested for myself? What is my educational experience? What are the things that I see as gifts? Also, what are the things that I love doing? What are the things that I think I'm good at? Who is in my network, and who is connected to those people in my network? What are some of the additional resources that I have? And so I think I've even left a few things out. But I actually inventory all of the things that I know that come with me when I am sitting with someone, because I do work with a lot of pioneering women, like I said, and sometimes what they need next in their business is, I need more speaking gigs. And I think, okay, well, I'm connected to this person, that person, and that person. I'm happy to make that connection. So I know that the value of what I provide is so much more wide than this finite hour or 6 months that I'll spend with someone. It's when they have access to me, they really do have access to all of me. And I think that no matter what a person is providing, it's important to look at that with whatever it is that they buy comes you. And if you're really selling from your heart, if that person is buying a widget and you're in that heart-based conversation because that's the person that you are, and they need a connection to Joe in, I don't know, Washington State, and you have that connection, of course you're going to give it. So I think not everything is so even Steven or tit for tat. It's just that exchange. And so that's really something that helped me look at myself and my offering in such a different and profound way for me.
Yeah, I love it. And I do the same. If I work with people one-on-one, if they need the connection, of course, I'm going to help making that introduction.
Yes.
Or providing them with ideas, even if they haven't thought about speaking, right? Giving them the idea, how about, and I have a connection and that can help you.
Yes.
Because I think as heart-centered people, when we are really living our truth, at least to the extent that we have already experienced it,
yes,
because we're always growing. So I don't think we will ever get to that 100%. This is my truth state. But as we know it in this moment, and that we are really authentic, we want to support, we want to serve. So obviously we're not going to hold back in a relationship where we are committed to help the other person to get to their next level.
Yes.
And I just love that. And that also makes all the sales conversation different, because it's not about influencing or manipulation. It's really, you are who you are. If the other person is a match, that's great. If they are not, well, there are other people out there that can support them in a much better way.
Absolutely.
I would love to know, because I see that once people understand that when they have their own business, they can say no. Right? So they can decide, do I want to take this client on board? And I call them soulmate clients.
Yes.
Right? If I don't want them in my house, if I wouldn't want them to stay for dinner, it's definitely not my client.
Yes.
There is another person that fits much better. So when, and I'm sure you do that, like you say no to people.
Absolutely.
When you started to learn this, what kind of impact had that on your business?
It was actually one of the most empowering parts of my growth as an entrepreneur. Because not only did I increase my sales, I increased the work of the people that I really do want to work with. And the people that I really want to work with, there is such an energy exchange that my degree of gifts and what comes through me for them is so infinitely better that I feel almost high. And so rather than, ending certain days where I've worked with people who, obviously great people, but they're just not showing up in the way that I work my best, I would feel more drained and I would feel more tired. And I would sometimes feel a little bit of dread when I knew, like, okay, this person's coming up. And I thought to myself one day, gosh, Katy, how would you feel if you were about to have an appointment with someone and they were just kind of like getting through it? How would that feel? And I thought, my God, I don't want to do that to anyone. That's not even fair. And that's not me giving high value. That's that scarcity thing again, where I feel like I need to take everything that's given to me, which I understand. I think I said in the first episode, I was on food stamps at one point in my life, a very short period of time, but I was on them. So I know what it's like to like really need that next payment. And yet when you can sort of move into that, the victory of the human spirit and say, no, I am going to be really intentional about the way that I create this so that this whole business that I have feels so life-giving that I feel energized by it. Everything can magnetize from there. And that's exactly what I experienced when I made that big turn. That was a big turn for me because my background was playing superhero and trying to save everyone, which doesn't do good things in the arena that I work, right? Because holy moly, that's a whole other episode. So for me, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't not be there for that person. Oh my God, so duh, Katy, you have a lot of people in your network, a lot of great people, just refer them to one of those other really great people who will be better suited for them. So everyone is getting served. Not only are you sending business to someone else that you respect, that person is getting everything that they need, and you're totally freed up to work with the people that really ignite every bit of your gifts. I mean, there's no better win-win-win situation.
Yeah, yeah, I just love it. And I have to say, when I started out on my entrepreneurial journey, I had learned that before. So I was never in the situation. I'm so super mindful of it because I
Wow.
know it's gonna take away from my energy.
Yes.
And I was in each situation so far, I was strong enough to say no, which I'm really happy that I had the strings, because
Yeah.
sometimes, as you said, it's nice to send somebody an invoice, but
Yes.
then I know that it's gonna, have consequences.
Right.
And as you mentioned, I don't want to show up for people knowing I kind of have to get through this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And I think it so helps you with your personal growth as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Big
Um,
time.
when people have an aha, like each time you
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you coach or talk to them, where you
Absolutely.
start asking yourself, well, is that like the norm? Is that
Yeah.
possible? And
Yes.
that really helps you thrive. And when your energy gets higher, well,
Mhm.
the higher your energy, the more amazing things you will draw into your life.
Yeah.
So what would be something you would love to wrap this up with as a form of advice, or as sharing a mantra or an inspirational quote? What would you like to leave people with?
I think the most important thing that we can ever do is to really know ourselves and really trust ourselves and give ourselves permission to fully express that and understand that most of the resistance and fear and scarcity that we experience is us holding back on those things.
Mm,
And that when we can really live into and breathe into the embodiment of all that we're here to be and really know that and have space for that, that's where expansive living is.
beautiful. Just one more advice on how do you give yourself permission if you haven't really done that before?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, sometimes you just have to jump in. For me, that was the process. And I started with little things or things that felt little for me, which was, okay, I'm going to stop working with clients at night, except one night out of the week, because I was working like 6 nights out of the week. I have a family. I don't want to do that. So giving myself permission to start changing my schedule in a way that better suited me. So if it's something that feels really challenging, start it with the things that seem smaller or more mundane and just let it grow from there. You don't have to be 1,000%, but you do want to just jump in and just notice how it shifts things.
Yeah, yeah. And definitely I think another important point is, like, so many driven entrepreneurs, they don't do enough self-care things.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's a must. That is a must.
So I was just wondering if you can touch on that real quick.
Oh yeah. Self-care is, I always call it builds our wellness savings account. So when a curveball hits, when something's going on, we have much more resilience. We have much more energy to deal with the things that come down the pike as an entrepreneur. So even on a good day where you're like, nah, I don't need that today, I'm feeling good. No, it's like putting money away every single day. So when you need it, it's there. It is a way that our life starts to magnify and give more of itself. And so if you really want to have a thriving business, you have to be a thriving individual, and taking care of yourself is number one. So I'm a big advocate of that. My self-care is sometimes a little ridiculous.
I just love this. What a great advice to finish this episode off. Thank you so much, Katy, for being here. Well, what a story. I am so super pumped that we had the opportunity to tune into Katy Bray's life and to find out what a master intuitive does and how that can actually influence your business. To even learn more and to dive in deeper besides this wonderful podcast, please come and join the Sales Mentality Makeover Masterclass. This is my invitation for you. It is already the third masterclass that I am hosting with amazing, outstanding entrepreneurs who are all heart-centered and achieved a lot of results in their lives. And they share their success secrets with you. Each and every entrepreneur will be teaching a whole segment on practical and spiritual steps, how to increase your sales and create true wealth without losing authenticity. This can be so valuable for your business, so I want to make sure you are hopping onto that opportunity by going to christineschlonski.com. Find in the tab the Sales Mentality Makeover Masterclass number 3. Just click, put in your name, your email, and you're good to go. You will get the notification once we get started. And also, I will invite you to join me at Brandenburg Gate in the heart of Berlin in Germany, where I will be celebrating you and your gifts on the 30th of April by popping a bottle of champagne on a Facebook Live to really celebrate you and to launch that beautiful next masterclass. So hop on over to christineschlonski.com, find in the menu the Sales Mentality Makeover Masterclass 3, sign in, and you're all good to go. I can tell you, you will have a wonderful time and you will learn a ton of things to improve your business and your life. So thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful day wherever you are in this beautiful world, and bye for now.